Hello, good evening. So I hope you guys had a good week this week. And if you live in the St. Louis area, hopefully you were able to stay dry with all that rain that we've been getting since last night. Gosh, it's been something, but that's the good thing with spring. All this rain will serve a purpose and help things grow. So, there's a purpose for everything, right? For me, I don't have a lot of personal updates from today. I had probably one of my most favorite days, which is when I do absolutely nothing. So I get up, I do my thing with our group, posting various things. Um, and then I just kind of delved into different books. Like I did my own tarot reading, of course, after posting for our group because I really love the cards, go figure. And then I started delving right back into this book that's around 800 or 900 pages. It's a pretty thick book, and also reading some other various books. So I've kind of got a little bit of a not so great balance. Sometimes I read more from one book versus the other, but I was able to do that, and I got in a really good nap this evening on the couch, and it's been good, so not so bad. So tonight we'll go ahead and we'll continue our journey through the Suit of Swords. And so we will be covering the Six of Swords. So to briefly touch base on what happened prior to the Six of Swords, last night we discussed the Five of Swords, which the main takeaway from this is not a card of victory. This is taking from somebody and not being respectful and giving them that time and making them feel valued. And it's winning at another person's cost. Okay. And like I've always told you guys with these go lives, fives indicate conflict with tarot. So now we're going to come out of that conflict. If you didn't see that, just so you know, I will upload to YouTube this video for the Six of Swords, and I'll upload the Five of Swords as well. So if you need to catch up on anything or replay anything, feel free to look at those and go ahead and shoot me a message if you have any, questions about tarot, of course, or even our group. We have a pretty awesome group, go ahead and leave it in the group and we'll all help, So with this, we'll just delve right in. So we have the Roman numeral for 6. And what I want you to observe would be the central figures in the card. Are they facing toward us or away from us? What are the predominant colors? Because all colors, all the imagery has a meaning to it. And that's really important to take away with tarot, especially when you're growing as an intuitive learner. What is happening around them? What is part of the scenery? What does the backdrop look like, right? How does this card make you feel? Do you feel happy when you look at it? Sad? Or do you feel some other way? So with this, what we're having here is with the Five of Swords, there was a loss. Again, that is not contrary to maybe popular belief, because I'm not trying to throw somebody else's belief under the bus, because you guys know I support diversity and different ways of looking at these cards. But it's commonly even reflected in literature on tarot. The Five of Swords is not a card of victory, even though many think it is, because of how the central figure looks like they just won a battle. And my go live last night delves into how it's hard for us to think of ourselves as the bad guy. That's a very interesting question when you're doing your shadow work, because the only way that we grow is by really taking a good, long, hard look at ourselves. Because, is it a blind spot that we're not aware of? Or if we're aware of it, what are we doing to correct it? So see how you can grow. And we can even help the people we read for grow, right? So with this, we have these two figures. It's uncertain if this is a male or a female, but many people generally assume it's a female. There is a child present. I say it's more or less open to interpretation because it doesn't even matter because we're talking about the energy of the card. And it's this person who appears to be a man who's turned away from us, who is taking them in this boat off to another shore. And so what we see is what they're taking with them would be 6 swords. Now, there's 2 varying points of view on these swords that they're taking with them. I will go over the first point of view that resonates very much with me, and then I will mention the other contrasting point of view. And I would say take what serves you, and of course, leave the rest. It's one of our go-to sayings. So when I see this, I see somebody who has suffered a loss. They may very well feel powerless and very sad, and they're having to break away, and they're taking this like experience with them. It's a bit of a learning curve. So they're still very much in the healing from reeling from that whole thing with the 5 of Swords, right? Nobody's going to quickly heal from that energy. And so it's breaking away to go to somewhere new. I mean, the ultimate outcome of this transition is a big unknown, but the overall energy of the 5 of Swords was not a good, positive place to stay in, and they're looking for that security. They're looking to be respected, valued, feel safe, to be treated well. To stay in that 5 of Swords energy is not healthy. And so they're making a very good decision to move away from that. But again, those swords represent their strife, what they have went through and what they're currently healing from. Now, when I hopped onto Labyrinthos, so say if you Google 6 of Swords, usually you have Biddy Tarot that comes up first, and then underneath that is Labyrinthos. Their wording was the 6 of Swords stands for a strong power of the rational mind. So I can see what they're touching upon, because when we're talking about swords, it's synonymous with the element of air. We're talking about logic, thinking, communication, and action. So their viewpoint to offer another insight would be someone utilizing their logic to see that no, this is not a good atmosphere or environment, that it's not good for them. And they're using that logic and they're taking action to move forward from that energy. So I can see it. It's not that I totally dislike it or anything like that, but it's similar to my initial presentation about what I believe those swords meant. And I like how they're pointing downward. So we're thinking more about the earthly sense. When we reference the divine, and it's written in various things that I've read, the tip of the sword would be pointed upward toward the sky if we're thinking about the divine. But then when it points downward, we're thinking more of that earthly influence. But I'm wanting to be careful with that because, I don't want to say trudge into, say, Pentacles territory where it's very much earthly. So this is a transition of sorts into the unknown. And I like how, so water's synonymous with emotions in tarot. So they are on a solid surface. Their feet are not in the water. And so they are thinking in a very practical, logical manner, even though their emotional state would be surrounding them very immensely so. The water takes up a pretty good proportion of that card, if not most of it. Now with this in the backdrop, we are seeing, it wasn't really colored in well with this card, but it appears to be hilly areas with trees, and the sky is white. There are no clouds or sun. So I think that's important, or even the moon. Now, if something was to be added to this, maybe the moon may have been more appropriate because someone is delving into basically a new adventure, um, recovering, say, kind of like the bricks. Think of the tower when it falls down from the major arcana, and we use those bricks to build again because the foundation of the previous structure was not trustworthy and inadequate. So it could not be sustained. So it's kind of like got that feel to it, between that and say like the moon, where you don't fully have the full truth and you may have minimal light, right? Versus the sun, it's this overwhelming energy. Think of the sun from the major arcana. We have knowledge, illumination. Our path is fully just lit. We see where we're going, the way it feels on our skin. We don't have anything in the sky to draw from. And then other than that, the water appears calm. So I think that's important to note. Look on this side of their boat. So we have the blue and white ripples. Look at the other side of the boat, though. We have stillness. And I think just like our group member Tim Clark pointed out on a previous Go Live, when the water is still like this, we have emotional stability. Now, if you have that tumultuous, chaotic, emotional upset, we're going to have some waves in there. So I like how with this gentleman, as he's navigating the boat, he is causing some ripples. But then they're predominantly on calm waters, you know. So again, this, you know, they're starting off anew. So think about like with love. Let's say a relationship hasn't been doing well. We're coming out of Five of Swords energy. Okay, that's not a healthy romantic or platonic relationship. This shows breaking away, you know. Either that or it could be starting anew. You know, if the two people talk it out, maybe they don't live in an ideal environment. It's putting a strain on their relationship. Maybe they are seeing each other a long distance, and we all commonly know long distance relationships have a very difficult time working for all sorts of various reasons. This could be somebody traveling. This card can be an indicator of travel. Especially if you get, like I do commonly reference the cards that we can get around this one. So say around it, if you get the Lovers and the Chariot, that can show like a major travel. That could be like relocating. What else with this? I'm thinking here. And also the Death card. The Death card would be very symbolic of change as well. Letting go of what does not serve us, that we've evolved past and outgrown, and embracing a new start. With career, this could be leaving that job. So if it's that toxic of an energy, such as the Five of Swords, and again, if you didn't see that Tarot Teaching moment, please check it out because we went in really in depth on that energy. They're just saying, you know what? This is not worth my inner peace, and they break away and they do go to another job, or they'll either stay in the same line of work, maybe go to a different organization, okay, or they may even totally switch careers up and find employment that's more in alignment with work-life balance and with what they want to do in life and how it doesn't take away from their peace. Because I think it's, you know, it should more or less be commonly known, but maybe not. One of the main reasons people don't stay at careers is because they don't feel valued or respected or like they have a voice, even if they get paid well. If the environment is toxic, they're being dictated to. They don't feel supported. Generally, people won't stay in such a setting. And that's why a lot of us, again, I'm assuming, and I'm not trying to assume because they know what they use. They say about people who assume, you make a you know what out of me and you. So I'm not trying to assume about what you know. But they say your manager can make or break a job. But then kind of one other sad saying I've heard is the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. That's not fair to all managers. Oh, I've had some pretty awesome managers. But that would show somebody not embracing that Six of Swords energy and transitioning either to new employment or another position, because at least they know what to expect with their current job, even if it makes them miserable. Now, with finances, we're looking at somebody from that Five of Swords that we covered. They're kind of reeling financially. They know they need to change how they're managing their finances. This shows that they're taking action on it in some form or fashion to build that back up and to obtain stability. So I'm going to go over the notes I took for the upright meanings to be thorough. So I'd mentioned the Labyrinthos meaning on their site. They believe that the swords stand for a strong power of the rational mind. Some general descriptors are departure, moving on, detaching, distancing self from drama. Travel is possible. Carrying pain where someone goes. See, that's more aligned to how I look at this card. It is taking that with you. It's also a lesson. So even from some of our most painful moments in life, there's a lesson that we can take from that and grow from. When you think about it, that way they don't go to another destination and somehow don't remember the lesson learned from this Five of Swords moment. They know what they're willing to accept and what they're not willing to accept, what they do want out of a relationship, career, or their finances, more so than what they did previous to the Five of Swords. Let's see here. They could be carrying a problem or secret with them, or keeping silent instead of exposing something or someone. So this could be somebody, again, from the Five of Swords, again, briefly showing this card. They felt devalued, disrespected. This main central figure is very contemptuous. They wanted to win no matter the cost it was to others. Okay. That's the overall energy of that card. So there could be something to where they don't feel safe remaining in that relationship or that career or what have you. And they're having to break away and start anew. And in some of the things I've read, it's pointed out how these are shrouded figures. So they're very much wanting a low-key exit. This is not somebody who will be wanting a going away party of any sort. They do not want extra attention on them. They just want to kind of ease out and make that transition. And that could also symbolize why they have swords, in the boat with them, because they're thinking, what if it's like somebody who's abusive to them in their relationship? And say if that's, one of our central figures, that they're taking their kid and they're, going somewhere safe because, say, this person might hit or abuse them or their child and they're seeking safety. They're carrying a world of fears between housing, food, finances. How are they going to make it? But they're in survival mode. So see, the overall energy of this card, it's good to break away so we can start anew, but it's also very scary at the idea of the unknown. This also is touched upon with how we have these three people. This is somebody doing a good deed to help them get to where they're going, which would be across the shore, or it could be somebody that shares the same belief system, or from a different way of looking at it, these three could be together and they're trying to maybe go away from, say, their country where it's a dictatorship and they don't feel safe. So I'll briefly touching upon immigration. We are a country of immigrants, and it's a beautiful thing. We are a melting pot. We are diverse. Okay. A lot of people escape a lot of strife and abuse very limited means of daily survival to try to go to a country they know nothing. They don't know the language. They don't have anything to try to, and I'm not trying to touch on that hot button topic. That's not the purpose of this group. And I'm not going to go into political type stuff, but just for a moment, try to think from their point of view, how it has to be if they go to a country where they don't even know the language, have no resources or support system. There is a very big motivation as to why people do what they do, or even our ancestors. Why did they immigrate? So thinking the pilgrims on the Mayflower, when they came over, they were wanting religious freedoms. They wanted to practice in their faith and not be dictated to, So just some food for thought. That could be why they may be fleeing that, So let's see here. Oh, so if we're looking at the end of a relationship, other cards you might see around this too would be the Three of Swords and Lovers. If you see the Three of Swords and Lovers in a spread with this card, we're looking at the end to a relationship. And then if we're seeing like Chariot, the Chariot card and the Death card from the Major Arcana, we're looking at a more so permanent move with, the Chariot is all about the Fool in that Major Arcana journey, taking charge of their trajectory at that point and making those decisions, which later on in the journey, the Fool has to pay the consequences for. But you think of travel with the Chariot, either figurative or literal, and then the Death is all about change. So that makes sense to me as well. Let's see here. And I've covered everything else with the symbols I wanted to cover there. So let's see here. So we are looking at moving towards something else that looks more promising. It's a transition. And I think it's really important to emphasize this is not a happy one. And it is a journey filled with regret and loss. This is not a fun card. So with love, we are moving on or reconciling after putting painful drama or dilemmas behind. With career, it's leaving a job for a job or position that is a better fit. For finances, it is movement away from financial struggles. So let's say, if you read reversals, which again, there are no rules in tarot, you do what intuitively resounds with you. Okay. So again, take what resounds with you and leave the rest. That's one of our go-to sayings in general. So we're talking about, generally speaking, the reverse energy of the upright meanings. So this is somebody not traveling away from the dilemma. That energy from the Five of Swords, they are totally not leaving it. So that could be because they feel trapped. They may not have the resources. So how do they escape this setting or this environment? Especially if it's not safe. Like right now, it just popped into my head, that movie with Julia Roberts from a long time ago, where she lived in this really nice mansion by like this ocean, and he would hit her and be mean to her, and she got tired of it. And so she faked her own death and then went to this new area and assumed a new identity. But this guy was psycho, but he was smart. He tracked her down and tried to kill her in the movie, and I won't ruin it. I can't even think of the name. Oh, wait, maybe. No, I'm thinking about the name of the book. But it had a chaotic environment in the book. It's a Glass Castle. That's a very good book to read. But the movie title, I cannot remember to save my life. So we have delayed plans for separation. The timing might be off as well. So especially if someone has extended family or obligations, they cannot just easily just pick up and leave if they feel bound somewhere, even if it's a Five of Swords toxic environment, unfortunately. Speaking up. So instead of being cloaked, reserved, and moving away, the person chooses to not do that and they speak up. This could be arguments, a conflict of ideas. So with it upright, the three of them are going toward the distant shore and they seem fairly well aligned. They're all facing the same direction. Even their garments have that orange and reds. We've got that excitement, enthusiasm, but we have the red there too. Red could be good descriptors such as love and passion, but it could also be anger, because when we lose things, it's a sense of loss there. And you see how the sleeves of, I suppose you could call him the gondolier, you see how his sleeves are blue? So when we think of blue, we think of truth, right? So basically, he's the only one with that blue implemented into the garment, other than, let's see, the child's actually in purple. Okay, so when I see purple, I think of the divine, whatever shape or form it takes for you. Even if people are atheists or agnostic, they're still spiritual in their own ways, because that is a component we all have. And again, to each their own, you know. So that could be that little baby, that little child. Sometimes to me, that's very symbolic. Our children see the world through a different lens than what adults do. And, you know, it's really sad that we lose it when we become adults. But children are so profoundly intelligent without even trying hard. And they have such innocence to them. You know, and they ask the coolest questions about, they like to know the why. Think about when a little kid is about 4 or 5, how many times per day they ask an adult why. It's very important to their cognitive development. They are piecing together the people in the world around them. Their brain is growing and expanding. So it's kind of like filling up that little sponge. Think of our brains as sponges with info. So to me, when we're thinking innocence and transparency, and all kids know, and that's why they're one of my favorite age groups, would be all they know is, especially when they're little, is they just want to love everybody and they just want to be loved back. So to me, if a human form on earth had to be somewhat similar to a divine energy, it would be through the eyes of a child. Seriously, it would be a child. The only animal that I'm thinking of where we do not deserve them would be a dog. Dogs love us more than we'll ever deserve, and they're very loyal, fiercely so, and very protective. So I see spirit in animals too. There's a beauty there, especially in dogs. Like, I think it's cool as humans that we have dogs, and I love my cats too, but cats don't have that same energy. They really only want you when they need you for something. But I suppose I love all animals. I've taken in all sorts, you know. But, you know, to stay on track here, when it's in reverse, let me go ahead and flip this guy back over. So we're looking at the inability to move on because they're stuck in the past. Even though the way I'm looking at it, when it's upright, they're still healing from the past. They're taking that lesson, that experience with them, and they're healing. This is very sad energy with this transition. So with here, it's just showing that they are very much stuck in the past. And I think some of the key words is they're not able to move on. They stay in that situation. They're just not able to move past it. I mentioned feeling trapped, remaining in a bad situation. There could be obstacles to moving on, unresolved issues. With love, it's unable to let go or move on, especially when people, they might have obligations to each other, financial ones, splitting of assets. But they can also live very much in their memories and not be able to let that go to move forward. With a career, feeling trapped in a career. And with finances, so with the upright, we have movement away from financial troubles. But when it's in reverse, we do not. So that shows avoiding addressing finances. So see what I'm saying though? Like with these reversals, it can be tricky, but usually for this card, a reversal is not a good thing. In contrast to some of our other go lives where the reverse energy is actually a positive energy, which dispels another tarot myth, you know? So that's all I wanted to cover for that card. And now we will delve into the cards for comparison, where I always ask people to look for common symbols and color use, imagery, reflect on how you feel and what you're seeing with the shading. So with this, we have a lady, and it appears to be very windy, and she is alone. And she's not looking at us. Okay, so we've got a perspective from, say, the front of the boat, and it shows her moving away, okay, from that Five of Swords energy. So I see it's like 3 birds are behind her. Then she's got 3 that are actually moving the boat forward. So when you think about like our sword energy, again, we're talking about the element of air and action, and birds are air, obviously, because they fly. So I could see very much the meaning that Labyrinthos assigned, saying that this is her using her logic to move forward from that Five of Swords energy we talked about last night. And then the birds that are behind her would be what she's leaving behind. You know, so that could be like our thought processes, what serves us and what does not. We take with us what serves us and we leave behind what does not. And she is surrounded by water, which is very common to the Rider-Waite-Smith. And it looks to me like she's almost to shore. If you look at the very corner of this card, we've got sand. So she is at the end of her journey. She's about to get on land. And you see how the artist skillfully put some black right here in the corner. But most of our sky, we've got predominantly blue, some heavy cloud cover, and it looks like we've got rain. And I like how they incorporated the rain there, because even though with swords, they do value logic, the emotion like that she's surrounded by with the water, or even above her coming down in the form of rain, does have an impact on this person who very much is moving forward and dependent on logic. So a lot of those core meanings from the Rider-Waite-Smith are transferred over. And let's see here. I think that's the gist on that card that I wanted to cover on that one. This one's got a similar feel to it. So with this one, we've got a black and white image of a central figure. And again, very much aligned with the whole sword energy of the element of air. She's using a bird to travel toward what appears to be rays of light. So that would be warmth, illumination, clarity, okay? And then the tumultuous water below her, she's rising above that emotion and moving on. So I really, really like that. So you see how we've got 3 swords here in one corner, 2 in another. Okay, so that makes 5. And then she's taking a sword with her for 6. So that goes to show that she's very logical, and she has suffered a great loss, but it's not worth her staying behind in that environment. So she's using her logic and her strength to move forward out of this bad situation. And this is just directly underneath her. If you look toward the middle, there are still waters there. There is somebody in a boat. But just around our figure here, we've got the chaos. So emotion is a factor. Just swords don't like emotion, you know. Hi, Mom. Good evening. Says, I hope everyone is doing well. They are. We had a rainy day here in St. Louis. So it's just one of those cold, rainy days. And we had chili for supper. And Tim made some cornbread out of the Pioneer Woman bread maker. We've been getting a lot of use out of this machine that makes bread. He did cornbread for the first time. He didn't research the settings, so it was a little overdone, but it was pretty good, you know. That, and I spent the day mostly reading, which was good because I've been trying to get through this book. That's about 800 or 900 pages. It's a pretty thick book. And you'll have to tell me how your day went. Oh, and just so you know, right before my go live, Tim went out to get me some pine bark. So I'll be replanting my orchid tonight. I haven't watered it or anything. I did like you said. I was going to leave it alone till I replanted it. So with this one, we have our crow friend, and then that common theme is we've got tumultuous waves, we've got water. In tarot, that's synonymous with emotion. Again, swords are all about air. It is flying to some other place other than this toxic one. That Five of Swords energy we talked about, it's not staying there. It came at a cost. It's leaving the 6 feathers behind that were painful. It didn't want to lose its feathers, but this little guy cannot stay in that setting. And it looks to me like it's flying toward what appears to be like little cherry blossoms. So that would be synonymous when we're talking about growth and vegetation and areas of growth, that these are synonymous with good places for us to where we can grow and be productive. Versus staying behind with all this loss, which already came at a cost, you know. And our skies are really hazy looking, with snow. So, and you guys know my thoughts on snow. It's like a clean start, purity, you know. Or another Christian viewpoint, if you look at that, would be when people are baptized and they're born again. Or even to delve from that, say when you take a shower. What is very symbolic is you think of all that negativity that's clinging to you, and that the waters from the shower wash it all away. And if you try to, like, humor me, use your imagination to think of that negativity taking form and going down the drain. So see, there's a power in water, you know. And then this is from the Hush Tarot. I don't hate it. I don't love it either. It shows this figure, and, you know, they're very withdrawn, turn inward. Their eyes are closed. Looks like they're protecting their core. They're not open as far as their body language goes toward the very, like, front of the boat, which is what I should know this from being a Navy veteran. It's more so commonly called a bow, I think. Whatever. That's what I get for being out for a while. But see, these fish take up a good part of the picture, you know? And I don't know, they're so big, it almost looks like they would be an obstacle to moving across. Especially, you see how this guy, it looks like he's like bearing his weight into the boat. And then the others are kind of like swimming, you know, kind of around it and under it. Being that there's 6 of them, this could be very synonymous with, like we were talking about with the Rider-Waite-Smith, carrying that past trauma and loss that was suffered from the 5 of Swords with them as they're breaking away and moving on. Here it's in the form of fish. That's a theory. But it's still not my favorite card, though. So now I'll hold them up so that you can compare the two. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Mom. I was looking for teeth on those fish. But that makes sense. I think piranhas are pretty big, huh? I'll hold it up to where maybe you can help me look. I didn't see any teeth on those, but those are some big suckers, aren't they? But then the spines, right? I think piranhas have those big spines running along the back. So that would make sense, even though I'm not seeing teeth. Well, see, that would be a stressful journey. I probably wouldn't be wanting to check those fish out either, thinking they might take my hand off, you know? And again, take in the similar imagery and symbols, color usage. And that's why it's always good to get a deck based on Rider-Waite-Smith, especially when people are new to reading tarot. And it's always nice when certain elements are carried over, even if they artistically deviate, which is fine. I like it when some of those basic elements from the Rider-Waite-Smith carry over. Or, of course, like I've said in other Go Lives, if you have a deck that really resounds with you, because for a lot of people, the Rider-Waite-Smith doesn't resound with them because it's not very diverse. Then you could also get you a little Rider-Waite deck and put it side by side with your non-traditional deck, or get you a book, which one, I still have it here. I've shown it in previous Go Lives, but I haven't shown it in a minute. This is the very first book that I got when I was learning tarot. When I got my first deck and I was teaching myself, where in the world do I start? It would be the Tarot Companion, and it's small and portable, just like it says on the cover, by Liz Dean. And I continued to reference this book. I have loved this book quite a bit. I'm going to see if I can open it up real good to show what I've done here with the spine. Maybe it's one. Here we go. You can tell how much I've opened it. Look at this. You can see the kind of the wear and tear on that. This is a much loved book. So say if you're starting out, I would recommend that. Anything by Rachel Pollack, she's pretty good. Courtney Weber, she's good too. I took some of her online courses and have her books. But of course you can't go wrong with Rachel Pollack. She's like the mother of tarot. And my mom says they have red underneath. Oh, really? Let me look. They do. Okay, you just taught me something new. I didn't realize those piranhas have red, I guess, stomachs or whatever, or the chest area. So I think that sums us up tonight. And so tomorrow I'll probably pull a card for Saturday and post on it. And then I will do the reading for our group on Sunday, which I'm looking forward to. And they'll be at 8 p.m. on Sunday. I'll do our group reading. And then the good news, Mom, I need to tell you. So Kyle, you know you love Kyle. So I worked with him last night, and he's totally cool with doing another group reading for us. Not this weekend, but next weekend on Sunday. So you'll get to see him again, because I know you love him. And I do too. He's a personality. So I thought that'll be, and actually our group loved him a lot too. I had a lot of good feedback on him. He's such a fun spirit, you know, so random. But I think that's the gist of it. So we're done with the tarot teaching moments until Monday. And the only other announcement I have, which I'll post something in the group, is I start my new job next week. And so I'm about to go back to working 12-hour shifts at the hospital and day shift. So I'll still post content in our group. You will probably see a decline in posts since I won't be at home to post as much as I have been. I am going to continue to be a presence and so forth. But the days I do 12s, I got to start like 6:45, which you got to be at work before your shift starts. So I'll look to be there closer to say 6:15, and then I won't be getting off. Well, we start giving report to nights on like at 7:15. So by the time you finish seeing all your people and handing them over, you're talking about a little after 8 p.m. at night, and then having to drive home and then sleep for the next day to work another 12. So yeah, so just, you know, I'll still be around, and of course I'll have my phone with me to check in on you guys on when you write me and stuff. It's just you're going to see a decrease because I'm going to be taking care of patients. So I'm looking forward to it. I never thought I'd look forward to going back to the bedside. I've been away since 2020. So I'm about to go back to it. So yeah, it's going to be a transition, but I'm excited, And Mom says, that is great. He is cool. Yeah, I told Kyle that we would adopt him, Mom. That he would fit into our family. He would. So, well, I love you. And of course, give a hug to Miss Bell for me. I miss you guys. And I will send you a picture, Mom, when I replant my orchid, just so you can see how it looks with the pine bark. So I'll see you later. Good night.